Hi guys, good morning. So the other day I didn't mention anything about uh, the silver and how big of an impact that is. And now the Venezuela thing, taking Maduro, going in, taking over the silver mines and the petroleum mines, all that stuff, it makes a lot of sense now. Um, right before U.S. invaded and took Maduro, um, maybe just over a week before, China and Russia shipped out like 12% of the total physical uh, global silver, physical silver out of Venezuela into their own vaults. And at the same time, uh, the state of China has locked down any kind of exports. So it has to go through like this whole government permission process in order to export it. And it's not just like as a precious metal like gold, like the price soaring and manipulating the markets. It's not about that. Silver is required for all major technologies, all of our technologies. It's probably the most important precious metal for our technologies. Like I believe like the missiles take like the Tomahawk missiles need like 4 kilos in each of silver in each missile. Dozens or like 10, 20 kilos, and the electrical and technological systems inside of our airplanes and our fighter jets and everything like that. So now it's starting to make sense. Like there's no physical silver available to give to anybody, because it's all been hoarded now. China, Russia, and India through this big move, and they took it all out of Venezuela. They took a shitload of silver out of Venezuela. I think it was like 847,000 ounces or something. It was like 12% of the world's total annual production of silver. And now the price to manufacture technology, all technologies, everything from electronics to tools to all kinds of military technology, like it's gonna skyrocket. And JP Morgan Chase and Goldman Sachs, they had a big plan on this scheme, and apparently they sold off all their shorts, their silver shorts, to foreign markets and entrapped them. And they entrapped them with all of the paper tickets saying that they own this silver, but they're not going to physically give any silver away to anybody. What they're going to do is say, hey, the market value is $73. We're going to give you cash for it. And why they do that, the price of silver is going to triple past that. They're thinking up to $200 an ounce, maybe more. And I mean, how many months ago was silver just at $33 or $35 an ounce, right? So the actual physical silver, outside of all the paper trading and all the scams of the stock market and the big banks, the big companies, the big banks have laid claim to all that is left, and they're going to be forced to buy it at triple price out of China, who's bottlenecking it. And that's going to cause major problems economically. I mean, heck, even there's even metaphors and parables, so to speak, inside of like the old movie The Wizard of Oz, about following the yellow brick road, and they took out some information about like how silver is kind of like the backstop, and the ability to, like, having physical silver is like the ability to keep your wealth and everything from being stolen, because they've they've tricked everybody into putting everything on paper, saying, oh, this is going to guarantee your wealth through, you know, things that we can manipulate by pushing a button on a computer. And they were tricking everybody into buying all of the paper tickets that are supposed to represent silver, while they hoarded all the physical stuff. And the importance of it cannot be underestimated, because it's literally the main thing that we need for most of our technologies, because it's the best conductor of electricity, and it is integral in every kind of technology that we have, every kind of technology that runs off of electricity. And so now it makes a lot more sense, right? It makes a lot more sense. They were purposely setting up the silver market to skyrocket while they're hoarding all the silver and tricking everybody into buying paper tickets, saying that they own physical bullion. They're not going to get that physical bullion ever. They're going to get paid off for pennies on the dollar, at fair market value, or whatever they want to call it. And like the market, it doesn't seem like it's going to be able to recover from this. I'm not any analyst of any kind. I don't trade. I don't know stocks. I don't do any of that. So I'm just hearing these analysts that are bringing up the numbers directly from these institutions, and it turns out that the big banks just put on another huge scam to screw the populace out of their wealth and make a giant transfer of wealth up to them for their personal profit margins, and for their control over a market that determines who can produce and manufacture our technology and electronics. That is a big deal. So our government is going to be forced to buy from these guys at extremely high rates in order just to produce the technology that we need. And China is going to have control of the vast majority. They're not going to have it. They have control of the physical metal, and it's locked in their vaults. And again, this makes me look at the full picture of things, because I don't think Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, the Federal Reserve, those guys, they don't think in terms of our nation and patriotism and nationality, right? They are globalist elite that believe that they deserve to own the world and be kings of the world, because they're good at deceiving people. They're good at manipulation. And it's going to have huge impacts across the world, especially in the West, because we don't have any of the physical bullion to put into our manufacturing, our production now. And what is going to happen? What is going to happen now? The mines that Trump took over in Venezuela, they're not going to be able to start producing for a long time, and they're not going to be able to satiate the needs of the market, of the people that are manufacturing goods. And I think now that I'm seeing this was the true reason that Trump went to Venezuela. It was for the silver mines, and to try to put a lot of strength, a lot of military strength and pressure there, and try to prevent the Eastern Bloc and the BRICS nations from getting a complete monopoly over it. And the crazy thing is, it's our companies, it's US and European and Canadian, all these big banks and corporations that set this up to happen. And the Chinese and Russians were just playing along really smart. They saw what was happening, along with the huge banks and corporations of the US and Europe. They saw what was happening, and they are screwing over everybody on the planet for their personal gain. And it's going to be devastating to our economy and to our manufacturing and production of technology. It's huge. It's huge. I don't really understand it all, but it's not too hard to get like the big picture. You don't need to know all the small details. Like, this is needed. It's being hoarded between a very few people, and they're locking it down in order to make us pay for it out of our pockets, at extremely elevated prices. And that's just going to elevate their power and influence and wealth at the cost of us, at the cost of food on our tables, or being able to pay our electric bills, or our rent, or our mortgage. That's who these people are. And it's crazy. So I think now it's people really have to start thinking about how our financial and economic systems are set up, like the pyramidal structure. And you have to start looking away from how these robber barons and these massive conglomerates and corporations say that the economy is supposed to work in order for us to move forward in the future. Because all they're doing is setting us back and trapping us. They do the same thing happens with gold, the same with all precious metals and rare earth metals. Same thing happens with advanced technology. Same thing has happened with medicine. Since the Rockefeller and Carnegies took everything over in the late 1800s, through the American Medical Association. Technology, precious metals, medicine, lands, water, food, it's like the same scheme. It's the same scheme. They might go about it in different ways, but it's always trick people into thinking they're getting a deal and they're building their wealth, while we secretly hoard everything, or put them in a position to where they're going to have to sell off to us for pennies on the dollar for the stuff we can't hoard right now. And then we just take everything and fuck them. The more the starve, the better for us, And that's like the mentality and the practices, our economic and business practices, our social practices across the globe. So that's a major thing. Start to look at that and think about how we get so entrapped in the rat race. We think it is the only way that we can get ahead. While being in the rat race is only beneficial to the big guys, because that's how they keep their boot on our neck, and that's how they keep us too busy and too scared to start thinking about better ways, to start thinking about working together as a team, instead of individuals where everybody's against each other in a ruthless, bloodthirsty market that sabotage and deception and backdoor dealings and all that can be explained away by business is business, or business as usual. Get out of that ridiculous mindset. It's a trap. It always has been a trap. It's always been set up that way. That's what's going on right now. And now we're really the acceleration of the economic collapse is officially here. I'm calling that right now. And it had to do with the silver market, because silver is the precious metal that helps regulate all the costs of other precious metals, and it is the most important precious metal used in our technologies. Beware of this stuff. Notice that anything trading on paper is pretty much going to be worthless. It's pretty much going to be trap. Look for your physical assets, right? Obviously precious metals, things like guns and ammunition, because I don't think this is going to end without violence. I mean everywhere. Seeds to grow your food, huge. Non-perishables. Ways to get clean water and store clean water. People might have to start thinking about building, getting like their dehumidifiers and changing those over into making like atmospheric water generators from things like that. But the physical assets are going to be the defining thing, but in the global economy, I believe now, because of everything that's happened. And it doesn't look like, I mean, petroleum's definitely a part of it in Venezuela, getting control of it. But I think the main thing is the precious metals and the silver now, looking at what's happened in the past few weeks. So, I mean, look up some stuff. Look at, go see some videos of these analysts and these investors that are highly successful, that have been doing this for decades and know what they're talking about. And go from there to see what options you have and what the best decisions are, because they're coming for everything. They're coming for everything. And they're going to try to use this like they did in 2008 to bankrupt everybody, force them to sell, their lands and their properties for pennies of what they're worth, and conglomerate and centralize all wealth, power, and control. It's the same playbook that's been going on since the boom and bust market was created, with the creation of the stock market and the Federal Reserve and credit. I truly believe that's what's going on. But check it out. People that are actually savvy in investing and stuff, unlike me, I'm not one of those. But check that out and see what you think, and get back to me if you want. But just most important of all, do what you need to do to protect yourselves and your family, because it's just another example of the top 1% of the elitists or whatever, the cabal. They don't care about you. They only care about their own wealth and power. And this is just another way to prove it. It's another way to show it. They're going to do everything they can to fuck you out of everything that you have, make you completely dependent on them, down to food, water, electricity, and travel, communication. They want us dependent on them for everything, and they want us too stupid to figure out what's going on. Don't allow that to happen. Don't allow that to happen to yourself. Love you all. Have a good day. Good luck.